square. So I had little glimpses of Sinterklaas through the little slats. But yes, I am well familiar with the fact that you guys think that we stole Santa Claus from you.
Why aren't you participating in NaNoWriMo?
Why am I not participating in NaNoWriMo? Because I'm trying to finish a book that I already started.
I liked your pep talk, though.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, lots of people felt like it was too depressing, but...
yeah, it was, though, but...
They just brought you a present.
Oh!
Santa Claus.
Oh, Santa Claus! Thank you, sir.
With his paper.
I was going to say, it's beautiful. I kind of don't want to break it. Yeah. He's on a boat, because that's the thing. It makes more sense. As someone pointed out last night, someone was like, well, you say that he flies. Oh, wow. Oh, man. Is it all pictures of the Ordon?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, man. That's great. It's a monkey on his phone. Oh no, he's eating, but he looks like he has the same pose that people have. I just ruined part of the book. Thank you so much. He has that pose that we all have when we're on our phones, where he's like, but he has food. But it just shows you, when you go into this pose, I always say this shows you what you worship. So if you go into this pose at church, that tells you what you worship, and if you go into this pose on a street corner because you're looking at your phone, that tells you what you worship. Yes?
How do you struggle with ignorance people, like in the comments, or for an example, most comments on the Iranian election with?
Yeah, okay, that's a good... Well, I made a couple videos about the Iranian election, which was rigged, and there were a lot of people who said, doesn't matter, or, so like there were crazy comments on both sides, right? There were people who were saying, stop trying to mess with the United States needs to stop messing with the affairs of the Iranian state, to which I was like, to be clear, I do not represent the United States of America. Like, I am not the Secretary of State. I'm just a guy in his basement. But there were also a lot of people who were like, who cares? Screw them. And as far as like the political stuff goes, unfortunately, I too often engage it, which isn't very helpful because a lot of times people are angry and they just want you to respond so that they can continue to be angry, right? And a lot of times that's true with trolling comments in general. They know that if they say something negative, that someone's much more likely to respond than if they say something positive. And so so you see a negative thing and that you remember that more. People always say you remember your bad reviews more than your good reviews, which is very true. And so then you have the impulse to respond, and then that gives them what they wanted, which was a feeling of hurting someone else. So I try to just not respond, but unfortunately sometimes I do anyway, which is bad, and I need to stop. Yes, tall guy in the back. That was vague. There were two tall guys in the back. I will let both of you answer questions. Ask questions. You first. Yes. Either really.
You probably have been asked this a lot, but when you die, what will be your last words?
So for those of you who don't know my first book, Het Grote... Someone else say it. Thank you. Is about the last words of famous people, or involves the last words of famous people. I always say that the worst last words that you can possibly say are I love you, because if you say I love you, it's not memorable and no one cares. But as I pointed out earlier, being memorable and having people care is kind of irrelevant to me. So I would say I love you to my wife and family if I could only say one more thing. But, you know, the best last words happen when you don't know you're about to die. So hopefully in 130 years, I will be hit by a bus while happily walking. I will be hit by a to someone who had a pen. You will have trams. You'll still have trams. You will try so hard to build a subway system, but you will still have trams. Yes, other tall guy.
Did I miss something before I came in?
Yeah, probably. Probably, hey-oh. Probably all you missed was me talking about how we're all going to die. No, I can't possibly summarize my own brilliance in a few short seconds. I am sorry that you were late.
Check YouTube tomorrow.
Check YouTube tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Do you have a favorite book of all time? If so, what is it?
I don't have a single favorite book of all time. I mean, I have a lot of favorite books of all time. So, I mean, from little kids' books, like the Children's Crusade, the Great Dutch children's book, to all kinds of like adventure books from when I was little. Huck Finn, The Adventures of Huck Finn by Mark Twain. Lots and lots of books that influenced me, and so it's hard to pick just one. I really love The Great Gatsby, and I really love Catcher in the Rye. So those are two books that I still read a lot and still think about a lot. You already asked a question, so I'm trying to make sure that everybody if anyone has a question. Yes?
Peanut butter and jelly or hagelslag?
Peanut butter and jelly or hagelslag. That's not even a competition. I get a lot of hagelslag, to be honest, from readers. Even when I'm not in Holland, like someone will come up to me and be like, "I've got a Dutch cousin, and I got you some hagelslag." So I can eat it every day, and I do. Like I have a little piece of hagelslag every day. I didn't know that it's like a children's dessert. I just like it. It's delicious. No, I don't want to mess. I love butter. I love butter, and I love bread, and I love the hagelslag. That's perfect.
Peanut butter and hagelslag tastes like M&M's on bread.
I don't want to mess with it. I like butter, bread, and hagelslag. That's the perfect meal. And then bitter balls. Yeah. No, bread, then butter, then hagelslag. Good point. Any other questions? Does she take a book of She has her hand up. Yes.
I saw your latest videos about the French Revolution.
Yeah.
I really liked them.
Thank you.
Would you consider doing some videos about our history, like Will or?
Yeah. I mean, you guys got some good stuff, for sure. So the question was, I made a series of videos about the French Revolution as an experiment to try to see if online video could be genuinely educational instead of just kind of trivia information. An experiment that only partially succeeded, I think, but we're certainly interested to do more. I want to do a huge series of, I mean, if I had an infinite amount of time and I didn't have to worry about making money, I would like to do a huge series of educational videos about European history, and then a huge series about African history, and a huge series about Asian history, and then a huge series about North American and South American history. I think that would be really fun, and I think that like people would watch them forever, because the great thing about history is that while our reading of it changes, the events that happened usually don't change. Occasionally they do, but usually they don't. So it has a nice long life, so I could make the videos and they could be watched in five years or whatever, and it wouldn't look dated. I would really like to do that, but I don't know if we'll ever have the kind of the time or the organizational setup to do it, because to really do it well, we'd have to have, you know, I'd have to be like writing and researching them, and Hank would have to be writing and researching stuff, and then we'd have to film it, and then we'd have to either have other people edit it, or it was a lot of work with all the design that Karen Cavett did and everything, so it's not really sustainable. We got to find a sustainable model, but Vlogbrothers takes a lot of time, and I really love doing those, so yes. Oh, last question.
Is there any particular character in another author's book that you really, really like?
Is there a particular character? That's a good ringtone. Don't feel bad. I don't even think my phone is off, so don't feel bad. Is there a particular character in another book I really, really like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots. I think my favorite character is Holden Caulfield in Catcher in the Rye. I think that's the most important character to me, because, and other characters in Salinger, I mean, in some ways, those young men influenced the way that I think about being a teenager when I was a teenager so much that they still influence my writing so much. Salinger also wrote other stories about this family called the Glass family, which is the best last name ever. And the Glass kids are also really influential to me. I think about them all the time, what it's like to be smart and fragile in a world that is going to hurt you. And then you grow up and you're smart and you're fragile, and then at some point the world hurts you. And that moment of hurt is both so painful but also full of opportunity, you know, to become an adult and to harden yourself, but without hardening yourself to the pain of others. I think it's a huge opportunity. Like I talk about in Paper Towns, and this is the last thing I'll say, the idea that as long as we are like a sealed vessel, as long as nothing has like broken through you, in some ways you can't let out the light of that is inside of you, and in some ways the light from the world can't get into you. So it is through, I think, being broken, which is like the essential fact of adolescence, right? The essential fact of being a teenager is that at some point you become broken in a way that you never were as a child. But I think that is a painful thing, but also this wonderful opportunity to share what is inside of you, and then also to let what is good and caring about the rest of the world flood into you. So I love that image of the glass family, these kids who grow up like glass kids, and then at some point they shatter, but it is in that moment that their light gets out and the world's light gets in. So that's what I love, and so that's why I think I love the Salinger character so much. You guys are amazing. I'm happy to stay and sign as long as you'd like. And please support the bookstore by buying books here. Thank you.